Welcome back to Literally First Class. I am going to start out today reading a Facebook post that I wrote recently. And this post started pouring into my brain as I was hopping into the Peloton bike at home. And as I was on the Peloton ride, started thinking about nervous system responses, which I know is kind of weird, but like, welcome to my brain. This is just how, this is how I think. So I'm going to read the rest of the post starting from that point. I really didn't want to work out. I was tired. My legs felt heavy. And honestly, I just didn't feel like I had any fight in me for this ride. But I hopped on, clipped in, and did it anyway. And it got me thinking about coaching. How sometimes in certain seasons, my client actually needs to restore their fight response, to remember who the fuck they are, to know they can dig deep and push just 1% more, to dial in their discipline and feel the freedom waiting on the other side, to move through their upper limit. And then there are those same clients, or others entirely, who need to lay down their sword because they know hard work, but they don't know rest. They don't know how to relax, to release and let go, to stop fighting for everything all the time. Mastery is knowing how to do both without making one wrong. And the truth is, whether it's business or life or a Peloton ride, knowing which one you need is everything. Some days you fight for it, some days you soften, but both will move you forward and require a different kind of strength. And this is so important because in bridging the gap between the healing work and the business advisory space, the work that I do with the somatic success method and strategy, I get frustrated when I see one or the other message be the only message. It can't all be dig deeper, push harder. Do you know how many of my clients are on the verge of a fucking mental breakdown? Most of them. I have had moments too where I'm like, I can't do this way. I'm exhausted. Back when I worked in corporate, I was running around with my hair on fire. I remember one specific time I was working in Skechers offices. I started as a freelancer, which I started most of my jobs as a freelancer, and then they always hired me, and I always was hired in leadership. And at 26, I was making more money than I ever had in my life, and I was managing 4 people globally for the entire retail graphics division part of, marketing and advertising at Skechers. And I was in Manhattan Beach, and I was literally stomping through the hallway. In fact, one person said, "Who is that chick? Like, she's like in a rush." And I didn't care. Like, I was willing to work whatever hours. I was willing to put in the sweat, the manpower, the blood, whatever was needed. I would do it. And nobody was going to outwork me. Nobody. I also used this strategy in getting through my college degree. I was one out of 5,300, 1 out of 4 out of 5,300 to graduate with my specific focus and degree. So I have a bachelor in fine arts, which I know you're like, what the hell? That's so crazy that you ended up here. But I actually use this every day. Bachelor in fine arts, studied advertising design, and there were 3 cutoffs. So between freshman and sophomore year, there were 100 people, more than 100 people that applied for this program, but they only took like 40. And then out of the 40 from sophomore and junior year, they took like 26. And out of the 26, you broke down into 4 concentrations. And so I was one of 4 out of those 4 concentrations to graduate with my specific degree in visual communications. And I went on to New York City and I worked in ad agencies, and I went on to Skechers and I worked in leadership. And then I went on in other corporate role to win global awards in real estate at a luxury real estate firm and help secure and land $20 million of contracted sales in less than 9 months. Like, I'm a force and I can channel that easily. So if you're like me, you're a force. Like, it's actually hard to slow down. It's hard to temper that because anxiety and fear drove me a lot of the time. It was like, I will not fail. And it was like the fear of failure was so paralyzing that I just was like, there's no plan B. I will literally bleed. I will be white knuckling my way through, but I will figure it out. That is also needed. as a founder, as an entrepreneur. There is a certain sense of grit and gumption and discipline that absolutely you need to be successful in anything, right? And I think that we've lost some of that along the way. I see entitlement. I see people wanting to meditate their way, to millions. I see people wanting immediate results faster than Amazon Prime. I see people, showing up a little and expecting a lot. I see people wanting to quote unquote charge their worth, and their worth actually has nothing to do with the equation. They're not even experienced in what they're trying to charge for. We've lost some hard work. I really deeply value that. I learned that from my dad. My dad put himself through 9 years of night school. 9 years of night school while working a full-time job just so I could have a different life than he was raised with. My parents came from nothing. My mom was sewing her own clothes and my dad was eating watermelon out of a dumpster. He was one of 5 kids. The wallpaper was peeling off of the walls in their house. That's 9 years. I don't think most people would go to night school if you said, "Listen, it's gonna take you 9 years to go through this, and at the end of it, you'll have a college degree." Most people don't do that now. They're like, "Oh, I don't need a degree. I'll start something," right? And so we have this benefit of immediate action that we're able to take from our phone and instant gratification that we get from things like Amazon Prime, but now we have an attention span of fucking point 0.2 seconds. We've lost some hard work. We've lost some of the healthy fight. Just the 1% more to get you over the finish line. What if that was the next thing that broke you through a whole other thing you wouldn't even know? And I'm thinking of that visual that you've probably seen before where it shows an illustration and it's of like somebody, with a pickaxe and they're mining for gold and they give up, but it's right before they hit gold that they give up. That's most people. But if you're in the 1%, you got to give 1% more. And I think we've lost some of that. So if you're in a season where it's like, it feels hard and I don't know that I have fight. I needed that Peloton ride the other day. I needed that. I started crying the third to last song because I was like, yes, I fucking did that for me. I didn't feel like I had any fight in me to like rise up and do this fucking ride. And I did it anyway. And like, there's something really powerful about that. And you do that enough, it rewrites the script that I can do hard things and I'm okay. Then there is the other side of that too. And I think that we're starting to trend in the right direction with healing and conscious parenting and all of these, different things in schools where, schools are giving participation awards. I'm not going to say that's trending in the right direction, but I think there's a good intention behind it, which is like we want to acknowledge people and have people be seen and heard. Okay, so I like that part. But does everyone deserve a participation award? No, that's why there's like first, second, and third. Just my opinion, right? But there are those of us too that need to know seasons of softness. And like both are strength. They really are. So you have to also know when to slow down and when to like relax and take a vacation and treat yourself. One of my clients, I asked her, when's the last time you went on a retreat for yourself? I know you host things all the time for clients. She was like, 12 years. I was like, yeah, I think you get to like go on a retreat for yourself, which by the way, we still have 5 spots left for the Made for More retreat in October. If you need to treat yourself and you need to take yourself out of your environment because you can't seem to take your foot off the gas, let's hop on over to Grenada together. I will show you how to work on yourself and let that be the strategy too. And they both require strength. But some of you don't know how to stop and start relaxing. You don't know how to take your foot off the gas. You're terrified that if you do, everything's going to break. Everything that you worked for is going to go away. It's okay to take your foot off the gas a little bit. It is. To know how to release things. Do you know that if you hold tears in, that you actually are creating 30% more cortisol? That's crazy. I just learned that stat the other day. That's a lot. And like, listen, the whole reason I do this work is to keep women in leadership. I was never cut from the fabric of like, I'm going to be a stay-at-home mom. Fuck the minivan life. Making sourdough, I tried it. It's not for me. I like being soft, but that's not my version of what I'm created to do. That's just not what I'm called to do. Okay. And some of you are, and that the show and this kind of coaching is probably not for you because you probably aren't a founder, right? I deeply feel called to my purpose. And the reason I do what I do is to keep women in leadership, to help them manage the stress better, manage the pressure that comes with being in the 1%. It's a lot of pressure. It is a lot of pressure. And you know hard work, but you don't know relaxing. And you know how to push through, but do you know when to let go? Right? Surrender faster will actually move things quicker. Sometimes that's the strategy. It's going to feel counterintuitive and counterproductive. It will. It did to me until I learned this work, until I learned how to take a fucking seat in myself and say, not today. I can't push through today. Maybe today is not the day that I fight for this ride. Maybe today is the day I take a nap because I haven't really allowed myself to do that. So it has to be both. We have to press on sometimes for that extra 1% to squeeze out the thing that is required to prepare us for what we're, getting ready to hold and create. And other times it's learning how to let go a little bit more and maybe not push through and not fight. So both have to be part of the conversation. It's incomplete to only talk about one. People's lives who I want to be with, be like rather, is in terms of mentors. And I have a really hard time giving you a list of names of women that I aspire to be like, because I don't think that I would want their life. Even if it's more money, I feel like it's costing them somewhere else, right? Or even if it's more impact, at the cost of what? It just there has to be part of the equation, this both and. And you have to look at the life that people are leading when you hire mentors, when you look for advisory on things. Like, from what space is it being advised from? And that's something I really think that we do really well at Elevate with Keri, which is sometimes strength is in the softness. It's in the surrender. It's in letting go just a little bit for more grace and compassion. And other times it's like, you gotta rise the fuck up. Not today. We gotta lean in right now. Discomfort a little bit longer. So it depends. And sometimes, people think these seasons last for months and months, but sometimes it's like today I'm leaning in and tomorrow I'm softening. It is that much. It is that different sometimes, the approach, but both have to be part of the equation. We learn how to soften and let go more when we have more safety in ourselves to do that. Some of us weren't allowed to rest growing up. And I think that's the biggest thing that I see, depending on the generation you were raised in, is those of us that know hard work, that know grit. It's a great quality. It really is. And it's probably why you're so successful. But it's also where you're capping your success. Because if you know and you can learn how to also hit the brake and not always be on the gas pedal, you're actually going to speed up results. And it will feel counterintuitive. And it might even feel like, oh my God, I'm going to get in trouble. Like, that's come up for me and for clients. It's like, I don't know if am I going to get in trouble for resting? Is this going to all break if I take my foot off the gas? Like, what if I can't do this again, whatever this level of success is? It's going to be okay. We'll figure it out together. And I got you.